carryover rule from the US, I think, which drove the development of the acoustic couple modem.
I want to apologize to anybody who gets stuck in the waiting room, and I've got to bring you in a timely manner. I keep forgetting about checking that. There used to be an option where you could just let everyone in, but now I think they're enforcing the waiting room in Zoom, so just maybe an option that I missed.
I'm not sure what you're saying, Pete, but I believe you.
You can't hear me?
I can hear you from times, but it's got regular dropouts. So,
but not as bad as mine on the last one.
Oh yeah.
Well, it is what it is.
Did David ever make it back in? He said on the Discord that he was having troubles.
I don't see anybody in the waiting room right now.
Okay.
Cool. Hey, Patrick, how you going?
I'm doing all right. I just had a dang this time to get on.
There he is.
Yeah. How's Texas going?
It's hot. It's you're 40 degrees at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Can't forget all the dirt floating around.
See, you're cold, and right now it's 102 in Houston.
You got your air conditioning on full? I suppose everyone has at the moment.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Patrick, I feel like you're in danger of being buried in TRS-80s there. Be careful.
I was going to say, yeah, you got an avalanche just waiting to happen.
I don't know if Pete can talk about that.
I was
if
going to say.
It's more the arrangement of his shelving that concerns me.
What's wrong with my shelving?
Barrel distortion.
Timber! That's what.
I think you got a fisheye lens happening, so it looks like everything's just waiting to fall down on you.
Yeah, see, finding a camera right now is kind of impossible, so I had to use one of my fisheye cameras. That's exactly what you're seeing, because it's one of my security cams that I've fixed the firmware on it so I can actually use it online for meetings and stuff.
Yep.
Is that machine behind you? Is that private labeled machine that you had for sale for a while?
No, that's not the 44. The 44 is down here under this table I'm facing right now. I ran out of room on my shelving that's still bent out for you.
Yeah, this hobby tends to take up every available bit of shelf space that you add, and then you add more, and it just there's no end to it.
I gotta say, I'm properly envious of all of you that have, workbenches and shelf space to do this kind of thing in.
You live in an apartment, John?
I rent a room in a house, actually. So
okay,
this is my universe. This is where I work. This is,
That's awesome.
Well, because my house is so small, 900 square feet, hosting 2 bedrooms and all that stuff, I am actually in a shed. See if you want to see. My lawnmower is over there on the right. I stayed in the shed. I really mean it. I wasn't kidding. I just put an air conditioning in the window, and that's all I needed. It's insulated, so.
So when you get sent to the shed, you're actually happy.
Oh yeah, I love being sent to the shed. I think most
There's just one hiccup with that is that on the wall there's one of those intercoms from Rio Shack. You know, those press to call. Yeah, she's got the button on the other end.
Hey, John, you could have an awesome PC-1 collection in a one-room apartment.
A PC-1?
Yeah, the pocket computer.
Pocket computer.
Oh.
That's why you just collect small machines like this.
I have other small collectibles, but I have an Atari Lynx, for example, and the original Game Boy. But no, the one thing that was on the small side that I really wish that I hadn't let my ex get rid of was my Model 100. That thing was awesome.
Yeah.
I wholeheartedly agree.
I'm glad someone agreed. I like them. I just don't love them. That's horses for
Mine
courses.
still worked, but I didn't keep track of things well enough, and several garage sales later, like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when you're after one that's going to run forever, look up Josh. He can hit you up with one that's never going to leak batteries or do anything. It's going to last forever,
nice.
isn't it, Josh?
If I was going to get some more hardware, once I have more space, but I'd probably be more interested in like a 6000 or something that I can run some for reals Xenix on. I'm properly envious of David's hot rodded 6000 he's got going there.
You got room on the bed, just on the corner of the bed back
right?
there. Yeah.
Put a little table that hangs over
That's
it, right?
Yeah.
That's right.
You can just kind of pull it over.
Just got to make sure that the airflow doesn't,
It'd be good during the winter.
At the rate those things are selling for, you want to pick one up sooner rather than later. I tell you,
Right.
you don't want to wait too long to get a 6000. That's for sure.
And for the Model
are they starting
100,
to become unobtainium?
the 100s.
No, the 6000s.
Oh yeah, they're hard to.
Yeah.
They're hard to
100s
keep
are
running
easy
to.
to come by.
Yeah,
What?
I want that new Rex CPM for it.
Yeah, I didn't get in on the first batch, but I will definitely be in on the second batch. I'm kind of waiting for him to release the 200 install board. Sorry, the 102 install board rather than the 100 install board. But those of you who don't know, the designer of the Rex, this is the original Rex. It goes in the option ROM slot of the Tandy 100 family. It's got flash chip on the back, CPLD on the top. The designer just came out with a new one. It's an all RAM version, and it gives you either 2 megs or 4 megs. The original RAM Rex is 1 meg, but it's all RAM, and it will replace the internal 32K on the 100 machine, and will use the remainder of the RAM as disk, so you can actually put your RAM in the right configuration to run CPM.
Huh.
Now it's 8080 CPM, 8085 CPM, so it's not Z80 CPM, but they're working on software, collecting software for it. And just because, this wasn't crazy enough, he then went and designed an adapter board to allow you to put a National Semi Z80 compatible chip into the Model 100.
The NSC 800.
Thank you. Yeah. So you can get a Z80 port machine in the Tandy 100 form factor.
Get it to run CPM.
How does the Model 100 cope with the 80 columns for CPM then?
Badly. No. So all right. Yeah. No. The hacks continued. What he came up with was an internal wiring hack. This is the barcode reader port.
Right.
And it only uses a few of these pins. So he actually wired straight from one of the output chips, one of the output pins on the chip, bypassing the UART and straight to one of the ports on here. And you can run 78 kilobaud serial over the thing to an external serial to VT100 adapter.
Wow.
And so you can switch the screen over to that and get 80 columns on an external VT100 board. It's a little board about this big. It's got like it's not a PIC. It's what's the one with the cogs?
Propeller.
The propeller. Thank you. It's a little propeller microcontroller. So you can get that, and plus it frees up your real serial port to do disk interfaces.
Hey, Josh.
Wow, so all you need is a 68K in that thing, and we got to put Xenix on it, right?
You go right ahead. Yeah. Knock yourself out.
5-second battery life.
Yeah.
The M100 was 8085, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
that's what I thought. Okay.
Well, you can easily terminal into a Xenix machine on the 100, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So you can get your Xenix
Yes.
fix on the 100.
Did a lot of that.
Yeah.
Hey,
we
Ira,
had-
how's the site going?
It's going okay. Just got a bunch
Yeah.
of discs and tapes I have to read, but I'm being lazy about it.
People still sending you tons of discs?
Yes.
Yeah. I have a few people send me some discs. A gentleman sent me some to Image, which I did. He wanted to get his late father's superscripts files off it to read, but I think for some reason I can't get it to go. I think maybe he might have password protected his superscripts files or something. It says the author's name, but it won't proceed to load them. So I'm sort of a bit stuck there.
I've got a couple of utilities I've had to run when people do similar things. One works, the other one doesn't. I'll just have to get you all three. They are all PC based.
Yeah.
I recently got a set where the person really had no idea what to do with any of the stuff. And I had to figure out how to convert profile into what ultimately wound up being Excel.
Yeah.
That was a little fun to figure out.
Okay. I suppose, yeah, it's a flat database in profile, so you could export it to Excel with a bit of effort. So that's good. Yeah.
But,
so I thought this was going to be a quick and easy one. Just copy the discs, load up superscripts, dump it all on a SD card and send it away. But it's taken way longer than I predicted. So.
Well, you could do that. You could load each one, get it to do some batch filing with some key pushes with TRS-80 GP. I've certainly done that too. One of the things I usually do is export everything. I'm sorry, if I get something, dump it, put it into an emulator. If it's basic, load it, save it, and re-export it to get rid of the slack. And just a lot of stuff is much easier with the command line interface.
Yeah.
Especially if you're generating batch files or doing key pushes.
Mm-hmm.
But let me get you some of those utilities that I use, and one of them should work.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks.
You have a script set to like Microsoft Word utility?
No, just scripts it to ASCII.
ASCII, okay.
One of them was simply one of the ones that were available on the TRS-80 Model 4 that I just converted to GW Basic. One of them, I honestly don't remember, but what it does is it reads every file in a directory, does the conversion, renames it, and goes to the next. So if you dump 30 documents into your PC directory, it'll just convert all 30. Take a look at them to make sure it actually converted, but that way you don't have to do them one by one. They may all be the same variations on the theme.
Yeah, great. Look forward to that.
I see we got Robert Hardin in the house here. Hey, Bobby, how you doing?
He's muted.
Good. How are you? How's everyone?
Yeah, I'm good. Awesome. Bobby's been doing a lot of exciting things in the Xenix world. Everybody knows I'm a big Xenix fan, but Bobby's really been taking a lot of the artifacts that we recovered from Frank Durda and really been pushing the envelope. One thing that he's done recently that's really exciting is he was able to get 12 megahertz Tandy 6000 system running, right, Bob?
Yeah, and it wasn't really hard. The instructions were in MUSI, and there were two variations of it, actually three. And I started with the 12 megahertz one way, and later when I got brave enough to make many cuts to the memory board, I did the 0 way. I mean, it worked out. I benchmarked it, and it's significantly faster. I mean, honestly, up to this point, I used TRS-80 GP. And when I actually started using the 6000 itself, it was considerably slower.
Right.
So the 12 megahertz mods really made a difference. I mean, I have the machine sitting beside me here. This might look weird because it's green and so is my screen. But
Wow, that's cool.
Wow, that's cool.
It's working well. I have the Z machine running on it right now. So we run all the old adventure games, you know, Zork and
Well, when do we get it? Come on.
Hey, was there ever any talk, Ken and Val, back at the shack? Did anyone say, "Hey, how can we push the turkey to 12 megahertz"?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
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 I mean, you did one, didn't you?
Yeah. Yeah, we had one floating around in the department for a while. In fact, I think we ran tech support, the tech sub machine on a 12 meg for a while.
Big, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so the hardware's basically there for it. Just needs a you know, bit of a.
I mean, you have to do the mods, but
yeah.
Oh, that's great, Bobby.
Yeah, it has a 24 megahertz clock, and it's running at 8, and it's Roy Neese is the one.
Yeah, that's right.
And there was another person named David Butler that converted a bunch of machines at Tandy to do it. And I mean, it works. It's a lot of fun.
And you got the heat sink, right? Is that yours? Was the heat sink yours? Yeah.
You're a mute, Bobby.
Is your David? Is your Z80 modded at all? Is it running faster or just the 68K?
Just the 68K. Eventually,
I imagine you would see quite a speed up if you also did the Z80.
I'd like to try that Hitachi, the Super Z80 sometime.
Nudge, nudge, Ken.
Yeah. Well, send me a note or something, and so I'll be reminded. I'm going to do the next board set, and I'll get one to you.
Oh, great! Well, that'd be awesome. Definitely would give it a shot.
Yeah, don't let me forget, because I will.
You will.
Yeah, what?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Sort of like 4 meg and 8 meg.
And Ken's doing a lot of
Think about
interesting
12
work.
megahertz.
Ken, you're doing a lot of interesting
Okay.
hardware work on the 6000. I don't know if you want to talk about anything that you're working on.
Well, so I'm doing I'm laying out an MMU. It's not mine. It was done by a guy named Steve Harmon, I think, in 1988. So I'm laying that out. I'm going to put that together and see how it works. And I think I didn't realize that Paul was doing one too. And then I want to do an 8 meg static RAM board that'll work with it, hopefully. So we'll see. Those two things are working. So we'll see. You know, I do it for me, and if it works, that's great. Everybody else can have it too.
So Ken, hey Ken, I've already done part of the SRAM card. So
wow, so we're both doing the same thing, huh?
So that was a quick prototype I ripped out of it.
Ah.
Oh,
neat.
That's prototype number 2. There's some interesting side effects, but prototype.
Very nice.
1.
So you're only that's an 8 meg board, or?
That's a 4, but it's extensible to 8.
Okay, so you're only using 4 chips, yeah.
Well, no,
I'm using
the 8 meg one's going to be all TSOPs and much smaller variation. It's just I'm hand wiring, so it makes it much easier to do the ends. And
yeah, I'm doing 512K by
8s.
8s, yeah.
That's what's on this board. So that's only, if you put in 8 chips, you'll get 4 meg. But the one I'm doing will go up to 8 with 4 chips. So because I'm going the TSOP route.
Nice. Look forward to seeing it.
Sounds like we need to get you guys in the same virtual room. Get that Super 6000 going.
I think Paul probably.
I've run into some really interesting differences on the 6 megahertz board. So I know there's a lot more 6 megahertz than 8 megahertz boards out there. So that's what I had to start with, and anyway, I'm trying to make sure it's compatible.
What kind of problems have you found?
We'll chat about it offline, but timing issues, all sorts of, it's mostly timing. And it was kind of interesting. I was looking at Bobby's the 12 megahertz mod. And man, I will say the Model 2 series, there was a lot of dependencies on gate propagation delays throughout the design.
Yes.
And it gets ugly quick if you aren't paying attention. You know, the fun one is like on the MMU board, there's a quad inverter chip just to delay address strobe because of timing setups. And I was sitting there at first, I was going, what's the deal with that? You know,
it was there.
Start looking at things and I get it. But, you know, there's all sorts of fun, interesting timing things that make you do things differently than approaches you would take today. So.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it was normal.
Yeah.
Back then it was normal. Correct.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad to see that you're including the 6 megahertz board because, like you mentioned, you can't find an 8 megahertz board today.
Well,
I can't remember the last time I saw one for sale.
That's on my project list. I'm planning on replicating that board here in the real near future. I've got a technique down. Like I cranked through the Model 12 backplane board in about a day. Of course, that's an easy one, but anyway, I've got a Model 12 that I want to start turning into a 6000 at some point. So
it helps to be a professional.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm a professional at doing this. So.
Speaking of Model 12s, I see one in Joel's video there.
Yeah, it's my baby. Still got to get the FD to 5034 going. I've got half of the parts from, what's it called? The electronics parts, the parts to go on the board. But yeah, still working on it.
On which board?
The FD 50 to 34. The adapter card so I can put a GoTech or whatever to load up some software.
Okay. Okay, that one. Yeah.
Yeah, Mark Blair's board.
Yep. No. Yeah, my first one was hand wired. That's I didn't have time and I was impatient, so I got this little 1 inch by 3 inch board that's hand wired with 2 headers and cranked it out in the night and was up and running with the GoTech with some of Bobby's help. So I was much appreciative back then on that.
Yeah, I'm hoping I can get it set up so that I can keep the 2 drives working and use the GoTech to load images elsewhere and make actual real discs with it, at least for myself, if not, you know, for those who need it. But I've got to figure out how to wire that up so that it still can use the internals and then just use this one maybe as the external. Not sure.
Yeah, I've got a machine like that. It's a pain.
Machine busted. Joel.
So, Joel, a quick gotcha if you don't know it. The internal and the external cables are different.
Right.
And they don't pass through. So just be warned.
Yeah, I saw that. I think it routes, it knows that they're actually external, I guess. Is it still 50 pin though? That's
Yeah, it is, but you can't just stick the cable, set it for drive select 0 and expect it to boot. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, like I said, still got some looking to do, but yeah, it sits right here next to me.
Nice.
Hey, I see we got Vernon on here. Is that Vernon? Are you there? Is that Vernon Hester?
Yes.
How you doing, buddy?
Oh, I'm hanging in there.
Yeah, you're still messing around with the old Model 4?
Yep.
Yep. For people who don't recognize the name, Vernon wrote Multi-DOS. Yeah, and we've been trying for ages to get it working on a Fred, and been
the problem I had is, okay, it says hook up to a 5-volt power supply. I don't have a 5-volt power supply.
I should have got in contact with you.
Well, I had other problems.
Yeah. It's good to hear you're still kicking around. Anyway, I caught up with, or a lot of us caught up with David and Teresa Welch last year. It was good to see them as well. They're friends of yours.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, thanks for joining us anyway. And I'll at some point, if you could send me an email, we'll get your Fred up and running and try and lock down multi-DOS on it.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks for joining, Vernon. That's awesome. It's nice to talk to you.
How do I get the camera to work?
How do you get the
camera?
You have to turn the camera on. Yeah, you have to get to the whatever the settings menu, where whatever client you're using.
We also have to, it starts up with the video stopped, and you've got to go down in the lower left and
if you're
hit
using
start.
the web page
Start
or
video?
using the program.
Start video.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'll try that.
There you go.
There we go.
Hey.
Hey. Yeah. So David Welsh, I caught up with him, and he said that he had all his original discs from back when he was the Lazy Rider days, and he actually found the hard disk drivers for multi-DOS. So I've got to get back onto him to get a copy of these to me so that I can try them out on the Fred. But yeah, that's one operating system that a lot of people from back in the day used and were keen to get them to get it running on the Fred hard drive emulator. So yeah, it's good.
I personally have not used multi-DOS much more than just playing with it. I'm curious, Mav or maybe Vernon, you can chime in. Like, what are the advantages over TRS-DOS or LDOS that multi-DOS offers? Yeah.
It's probably the basic and the features that are available in basic. More so than the DOS. LDOS is centered on the DOS. Multi-DOS is centered on super basic. And if you're a basic programmer, you would probably prefer multi-DOS than basic 80 version 5.
Multi-DOS as well, for a lot of people, it offers a lot better flexibility with reading disks from other formats. So whereas with new DOS or LDOS, you've got to mainly new DOS, you've got to mess around with a lot of P drive settings to read disks from other TRS-80 DOSes. With multi-DOS, you just put the disk in, and in most cases, it will figure out what the geometry of the disk is and the sectors and read it. So it was kind of very flexible that way. If you had a lot of different disks from a lot of different formats, you could read them more easily with multi-DOS, which is why a lot of people sort of got into and used it for just ease of reading alien disks in.
Is there a user's manual archived anywhere for the multi-DOS?
Yeah, it's downloadable on TRS-80.com.
Oh, okay.
Thanks to Vernon, who said everything could be downloadable. And the multi-DOS also came packed with something called VFU, which was basically a screen-driven, yes/no batch kind of file copier. So if you were trying to rescue stuff off of a TRS-DOS 1.3 onto a usable DOS, you could really just use this thing, yes, and boom, there it went. I've also found that when I'm going through files that I get, if I can't find an operating system that will work, because I do test all the files that I get, and BASIC just does not have enough RAM, multi-DOS has the largest free RAM in BASIC for some reason, and I can always get it to run there.
Wow.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Vernon, did you know Randy Cook? I'm curious.
No, I didn't. I knew Tim Watt.
Of super utility fame.
Yes.
Cool. So who else has a project that they want to talk about and showcase?
I got a new TRS-80 GP feature to demonstrate.
Okay. Spoil us some more.
Yeah, well, I'm going to do a live demo here, so we're going to tempt fate. But I've got the Xenix running here, so I'll log in. So I'm the only one signed on, but I'm adding serial line emulation, which currently supports hooking up over the internet. So we'll see if Peter can log on to this machine from his emulated Model 4. Yeah, so I don't know if you can hear me here. I've got things unmuted. So we've got the ANSI term running on the Model 4 emulator. And we can try to connect over the internet. Choose a connection. There we go.
Oh, wow.
Neat.
That's brilliant.
Neat.
Well done.
Yes,
Yay.
nice.
That's nice.
Let's see if I can get logged in here. There we go.
Woo! Need to switch to using my Getty.
If we don't have TA, how am I going to buy Peter and George a beer?
I think it's Control D. Yeah. Oops, hang on. Again. There we go. And it works. Yeah, it's showing up on the other side. It's kind of remarkable. You might think of the internet just for file transfer, but it turns out you can like do a sort of kind of chatting over the internet using this technology. Imagine the possibilities.
That's very cool.
So are you using a serial IP converter on each end, or how's that working?
So the emulation will ultimately have different modes, but right now it just acts as its own serial IP converter, essentially. You tell it you want to listen on a port or connect to a port. And right now it's about sort of halfway done, and that, you know, it kind of works, but there's no UI. And I would like to support real serial lines too at some point. So it should be out in the next version.
That would be great for moving files between a real piece of hardware and the emulator using UCP.
Yeah.
So is this support at the sort of at the hardware level? Because I'm just thinking some of my software I wrote for the Model 2, I write directly to the serial hardware. Does that work?
Yeah. Yeah, it will.
Wow.
Typical of demos, the VI is not working as well. Oh, I know. I probably forgot to. I think. Oh, this is classic. I have to
There you go.
Yeah.
Yep. There you go.
I don't know how to type escape, but the closest I found is hitting F3 here, but I don't think that's really what it's for.
Control left bracket.
It doesn't seem to like that. Oh boy.
Control up arrow.
Let's see, control left bracket. Guess I control K. Control up arrow. I don't know what will happen there. Well, it's consistent. Oh, that's not the VI. Oops. Okay, come on. There we go. Now we're in some funny video mode. I don't think there's there's no clear.
This is what would be nice if Xenix had job control.
Okay, time to log out.
Kill him, George.
Nope, exit. There we go.
There you go.
Well, I got to give you guys props.
That's
you're
awesome.
doing your
Thanks,
first
guys.
test. There's a live demo. That's awesome.
What's the IP? So
No
I can
pressure.
log in from
Yeah.
my Model 100.
Okay, we got some dead air happening here.
Yeah, I was gonna say, well, there's a bit of silence. So is that the path we're going to eventually get to using? I guess RS-232 emulation. You actually hook up like a Model 12 to another Model 12 virtualized. Actually transfer software between.
Yeah.
That is really cool because that's why I went the FD50-34 route because I was like, oh, well, there's no support written for it yet, but that's really cool. Yeah, super excited about that.
George, can it use the PC's serial port through USB to talk to a real terminal?
Yeah, I intend to get that working, but it's not doing anything like that yet.
Cool.
Is it simulating serial A and serial B on the Big Tandy?
Theoretically, I've only tested serial A because my command line argument only supports serial A.
That's really cool.
Let's get some BBSs back online.
Yeah.
And for those who want it, I put the superscripts and stuff on Discord, so it's sitting there now.
Cool. I got an email from you. I just saw that come through before. So
Yeah, but I put it on Discord in case anybody else wanted it, like Pete.
Last Tandy assembly, I tried to get one of my machines connected over the Wi-Fi modems to the guy who had his Xenix BBS with him, but I couldn't get the modems to cooperate on the conference center Wi-Fi.
Not enough bandwidth?
No. It's one of those Wi-Fi things with the captive portals where you have to click the web page stupid thing, and you can't do that from a Wi-Fi modem on a Model 100, so kind of hosed.
Yeah, it was Mike Lewin.
Yes, thank you.
Hey, Dusty, what's the status of TRS 8-bit? I noticed the latest issue is over 100 pages. How's that possible?
Well, it's you guys are just coming up with some fantastic things. Just as always, thanks everybody who sends stuff in. I mean, without everybody, it would be a pointless exercise. But yeah, I was surprised. There were some super bits in it, weren't there? I mean, there was all sorts of things. I'm still struggling with I'm still trying with the Aquila floppy, like the Exatron stringy floppy. I found in the States some firm selling 8-bit cartridge little foam pads that go behind the tape as it pushes it to the head. So I'm going to try and put they're too large as they are, so I've got to sort of reduce the size by about a quarter, and then I will try and fit them behind the heads of the wafers to see if I can get any reads from these damn things. But I'm getting desperate now.
So the felt pad for the tensioner has come off. Is that what's happened? Can you observe that it's come off?
Yeah, the actual foam has just disintegrated over time. Some of it's fallen inside the wafer, which, if you're very lucky with a pair of tweezers, you can get it out. But there's just, having got the Aquila up and running so splendidly, thanks to George and Peter, it's a shame that there's sort of like 3 programs I would just love to get to bring it back to full usage, because I think basically when I've eventually popped my clogs, I don't think anybody in the world will ever know anything about an Aquila.
Yeah. I mean, the first thing I check these days when I get a consignment of cassette tapes sent to me is to look to see if the felt pad has come off, because the felt pads themselves are long lasting, but the adhesive that holds them onto the tensioner thing let's go. And so you know straight away not to even try to play the tape. You're not going to have any success. But that's happening more and more often as we're getting cassette tapes that have been stored in attics and things in less than ideal conditions, or they were just, you know, in poor condition to start with. So it's a hard enough job on a cassette tape. I can imagine what it'd be like on a on a stringy floppy wafer. So I was just going to mention about TRS 8-bit as well. You know, one way that that I helped sort of get it to 100 pages was by increasing the font size on each of my.
That's like the old double spacing trick that we did in school, right?
Does that mean you pay for a 1-page ad and you get 2 pages?
Yeah, that's the one.
Ian, my every tape I get, this is my best friend here. It's getting, there we go. No, okay. Liquid nails, use it all the time on a little toothpick to reattach.
Yeah. And reattach the felt pad and.
Every time I get no tapes where it's still attached.
Okay, all right. I still get some where they're still attached, but they're often ones that I've already got. I've already, you know, recorded ages ago, so I don't need to actually read them. But it's the user data ones. Unfortunately, in this country, at least, people back in the day sort of sported for the cheapest possible tapes they could get away with, rather than the quality ones. So they're all junk by now.
Well, I've added a whole bunch more of the I'm never touching this brand disc again. I recently got one where every disc shredded. I was just dealing with it. And then you get them, you reread them, and, you know, thanks as always to George, who rewrote some of the utilities, updated Tim's utilities for the Catweasel for me. And then after blood, sweat, and tears, the thing was blank.
Oh.
I find the worst thing is that the oxide is so easy to shred, and it then gets all over the reed head, and then you've got to stop, clean everything down again, and put another one in. You know, I'm still at it, but I'm not succeeding so far.
I have a large collection of 5 1/4 inch or 5 1/2 inch drives, 5 1/4, that I've picked up, and I just keep them all in a bid box. And as my rubbing alcohol finally sends one of them to the great beyond, I just have to move on to another. Yeah. But I don't even screw in my drives. They just come out.
What's failing on them?
No, the media shreds, because some of the media was crap.
No, yeah, no, but when your drive is failing because of the alcohol, what I mean?
Yeah, I was curious.
Oh, you know, you do this a few thousand times, and then the drive just won't read anything anymore.
Yeah, if it's digging into the disc as it goes past, it's eventually going to knock that head out of alignment. It only has to go, you know, a fraction of a millimeter out of alignment.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to suss out. Is the head going out of alignment?
You know,
is the head going out of alignment, or is it actually wearing down?
I doubt it's wearing down, but
ceramic.
That is well beyond my ability to try to resuscitate that, as opposed to throwing in another. I've certainly been asking Ian if he'd like a very large shipment of dead drive, but look at his face.
Ira, something else to try, and I go back to doing VCR repairs for this type of stuff, is there was some Freon TF solvent, works better. And what may be happening is the reed head gap ends up getting some of the oxide in it. And unless you get that cleaned out, and alcohol never was a good thing to clean that with, the Freon TF solvent dissolved it a little better, or the oxide stuff. But that was true with VCRs, and it's got to be the same type media over years. So
yeah,
you get a speck of that oxide in the reed gap, and it does affect the reed capability.
We've got a cabinet full of that. Sorry.
Yeah. No, that could be it. Again, these. If a drive starts giving me trouble after 100 or 200, then, I look into it. After 6 months of beating the hell out of these drives, I just reached for the next one.
Yeah, yeah. That gets you back up and running quickly.
Yeah.
I was going to say, Aaron Brockbank, if you're there, he's had success with putting discs in an oven at a low temperature. Do you want to clue us up on that, Aaron, if you're still there?
I'm still here trying to get the camera working for Ira.
Yes, I've been bugging him in private chat the entire time.
Yeah. sort of working, but not. Yeah, I've had little success with that, and you use a lubricant on it on the disc as well. I think Pete's done that as well. And that seems to work after fashion, but you've got to keep the temperature of the disc down to about 55 degrees Celsius. Otherwise, it loses its magnetivity. Yeah, but that works.
Or just turns into a pretzel. I imagine it wouldn't last very long at 150 or 200 Celsius, which is what a domestic oven is happy to run at. But if you can sort of throttle it back to 55 to 58, it's my understanding you can get one last read out of the disc if you're lucky.
Well, that's yeah. I mean,
I have a lot of good luck with what George did to the Catweasel utilities. I can't thank him enough. Putting in what's not present in the current version that George managed to put in was caching of sectors. So it's not just stopping at the last however many sectors you got, but he's caching all the good ones. And he has increased my read success even on shredded discs beyond all expectations.
I can see why.
Josh suggests a food dehydrator device.
Yeah, I saw the people that were discussing that.
Yeah.
I have one in my garage.
Of course.
It looks like you have everything in your garage.
I baked a lot of cookies.
Do you dry fruit?
No, I should try that.
Magnetic media.
Use it for its intended purpose, at least once. Hey, Patrick, Patrick, are you on a security camera?
We had this conversation at the beginning of the show. Yes, I hacked a Wise camera, which is a security cam, so I can use it as a webcam. Just required a little bit of firmware change, that's all.
Yeah, it's really hard to find a webcam right now.
Is it still?
Try 6 weeks on Amazon. How come?
You want to say that again, Patrick?
Everybody's working.
Breaking up.
Oh.
Sorry, I'm on Wi-Fi in the shed, so it might cut out. It's possible to find them. It's very difficult to find any camera right now. In the stores, they're all empty, and on Amazon, it's like a 6-week wait.
Jeez.
Maybe this is a new project for Ian.
There you go.
Yeah, and in the US we'd still have a 6-week wait to get just shipping.
But we got plenty of webcams here. The trouble is, it's a 6 to 7 week delivery time, so it wouldn't really help. But yeah, I suppose en masse in the US, people have been buying them to work from home and communicate with their family and friends. I never thought of it that way. I should have bought shares in Logitech.
Well, I got something cool I want to show everyone. I'll be back in like 30 seconds. Hold on.
I'm happy, Ian, that I did pass that order of all those drives just before the pandemic, mind you. I don't mind at all. It's keeping me busy.
Didn't come through.
You're being kept busy with something? That's good.
So I threw in a link to the tweet where Mark Blair showed off the setting for his dehydrator for the discs.
Oh, cool. Hey, any Texans there got an update on how computer reset go? They emptied it out? Are they letting I suppose it's shut down for the summer anyway because
It's
hot,
been
hot as
shut
hell.
down. They're still cleaning out as time permits. So we're probably looking at another 3 months, I think. But
Okay.
because we got to wait for it to cool down as well.
Yeah.
So the guys who are doing it said that they'll let us know.
Because there's got to be more Radio Shack stuff in there for sure.
All right, I've been looking for one of these for years, and I finally got one a couple weeks ago.
Is it an 851? It's about the right size box.
Give you a hint.
Oh,
Pin plotter. Oh, got it.
yes, very nice.
No, it was about the. I know you've been looking for an 851, Pete, and it was about the right size box.
It's the multi-pen plotter.
Nice.
Yes.
Yes.
I remember that.
I've got one. I've got the only one in Australia.
That's the
Looks like it's
Houston
in good
Instruments one, right?
That's the Houston Instruments one. I've never
Yeah.
had mine running.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the one that will change pens as it's drawing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's got the pick and place arrangement, so
Yeah.
very nice.
$2,000 in 1982 money. It was
Yeah, that was an expensive plotter.
an expensive plotter, yeah. And the thing is that when I got mine, what I was surprised, because they never sold them here in Australia, was actually how small it was, because it looked a lot bigger and more serious, like an A3 size page or something like that. When I got it, I realized this is small. There's a lot of money for a small printer. But yeah, they.
It was.
Yep.
Yep. There's a gentleman who comes along to Tandy Assembly. Can't remember the name at the moment, but it'll come back to me. But he had one of them set up printing like crazy for all of last Tandy Assembly. So they do a pretty good job still. They're well engineered, and with a fresh set of pens, they go well and pretty
That was
quick.
Matt Hoytum, right?
Yeah, that's him, Matt.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was next to you at down at the last one.
Yeah, the big problem for a lot of these old plotters is finding pens.
Yes.
Yeah, but being Houston Instruments, there'd be a lot of them still in. It'd be easier to get Houston Instruments pens than for some of the weirder printers like the Sharp, what Tandy called the CGP 115.
Oh yeah.
There's a couple of folks in
the,
Those pens are very hard to get to. I mean, those are very similar to what they use in the HPs. And I've got an HPE size plotter sitting out in my garage that I used to do a lot of stuff with, and you just can't get pens for them anymore.
The solution that a bunch of folks in the Atari community have come up for this is their 3D printing adapters that will turn modern pens and make them fit into these old plotters, particularly the Atari 1020.
I have seen that.
Mm.
Yeah, the only reason I really kept it was to do a vinyl cutter out of it. So that's about what
Can't
it's
believe
good
these,
for.
these actually work. They all work.
Yeah. Oh, the pens? Cool.
Yeah.
How long were you looking for one of those printers for, Peter?
Since the first time I saw one in the catalog.
Okay.
I have the 215, the flat bed plotter, but I was never happy that I had to change out the pens manually.
Yeah.
Did you find a source for pens for that one?
No, I haven't looked that hard, but I haven't.
Yeah, I
He
haven't
doesn't
been
care
able to
anymore.
find
He's got his new one.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm going to hook that up to a Model 2 and draw some business graphics. Yay.
I had an issue in 80 Micro that involved changing the huge print cartridges for an MX80 so you could print in multicolor. And to take out the old one and put in the new one, that's dedication.
So it would print it in one color. Then what you do, roll the page back.
Roll it back.
Change
Put in the new one.
I mean, it was probably fantastic. just the things we used to do back in the day that are so so mind-bogglingly backward sounding now.
Speaking of printers, Mav, have you ever found a source for those pinch rollers for the Line Printer One?
I didn't follow it up. I thought maybe I think the last we were talking about it was we need the dimensions for them and try and 3D print some or.
Yeah, there was someone in Australia that purchased one that had good rollers, right?
Yeah, that's right. I'll have to get back onto him. He's not far from me, and probably will be watching this at some point in time because he's a bit of a TRS-80 enthusiast. So forget his name, but I'll get back in contact with that gentleman. Is your Line Printer One still non-functional due to the pinch rollers?
Yeah, I'm just waiting for that.
It's my dog.
You know the Line Printer One is very underwhelming when it's running. It's what's the word? It's all that and less.
Well, I'll just go back to the screen printer.
The motor runs continuously, and
right.
It was probably a great printer for the time, but and great looking.
Yeah, it is. It's an impressive piece of engineering for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Anyone else have something they want to share and show us? Now's the time.
I just finished repair of a couple of portable disk drives. I don't know if the TPDD for the Model 100. I don't know how many Model 100 folks around here, but what I discovered on one of them was a purely mechanical issue where the disk wouldn't actually seat down properly, and the little metal tab that lifted that felt press piece, that metal tab wouldn't let the felt press against the disk, so the disk was just flying above the head. I don't know if that's a common error on these things. This is my first TPDD repairs that I've done here. It's still sitting there on the bench. I literally just got double density disks in to test these things with yesterday.
One of the main problems with one of the issues with the portable disk drive, because I've had a few of them over the years and I've never been able to get one running. I mean, it seems so simple. You put batteries in it, a disk in it, serial cable connected to the Model 100, and then it's got the little program, it's like a 5-line program or something. But after I type the program, it just never seems to communicate with the portable disk drive. And I thought, this must be just the first drive that I got, but subsequent drives, I could never get it to work. Either there's a bug in the program or just they're a crappy drive.
They were a crappy drive.
They are a crappy drive. But I mean,
they were hard to work when they were new.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, these were brother drives from their knitting machines that got repurposed for this. But this is PDD 1s, not PDD 2s. You're talking about, Mav?
I think the PDD 2s that I had, I ended up just selling them to enthusiasts who seemed to think they knew what they were doing, and I just sold them as non-working drives and never heard back from them. But I mean, they come in with a system into my workshop with like a 102, a PDD2, all the discs and cables and everything, but just could not get them to talk.
So the PDD-1 has this set of dip switches on the bottom. Oh, this is the fellow who I'm fixing it for. And you need to flip these all to on in order to do the bootstrap procedure. On the PDD-2, though, I don't think you need to do that because it doesn't have the dip switches. But what you do have to have at that point is the utility disk, because the program loader, the floppy.co is not in ROM anywhere. It's on the original disk. So at that point, you send this S record over to the drive, and it tells it, okay, read this sectors off the disk and hand them to me.
Okay.
So
the code you're typing in doesn't establish a communication. It brings over the firmware to operate the.
It brings over that. So yeah, it brings over that. It's the initial program loader that you're sending over, and so it reads these sectors off the utility disk that came with it from. I've got one around here that's just a blank disk, and it just hands that stuff over to the 100, and it's just machine language program, and that is floppy.co, and that allows you to interface and send commands to the disk drive. But if you have another DOS like the traveling software's TS DOS, which is what I'm using because I have it in ROM on all the Rexes on my machines, that will talk to these things as well too. And so you can skip that bootstrap step to just get in and work with these machines.
Yeah, it's been a few years, but from memory, even that bootstrap phase, you type in the bootstrap and attempt to execute it, but the activity light on the drive wouldn't even eliminate. So I just sort of.
Did you have any disk in there?
Too hard basket. No, it wouldn't have had a disk in there, but
yeah. So it won't do anything if there's no disk. It'll just seem
like a real TRS-80.
Yeah. Do you work with 100s a lot, Matt?
No, I avoid them like the plague. But when people offer them to me, I buy them. But then when I get them, I flip them as quick as possible. But that's we all have our favorite machine. And
because if anyone is working with these a lot and you don't have a Rex, hit me up.
Okay.
Josh, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Those Model 100s, 200s, there was a base with disk drives that would drop under a monitor. I think it's called a video. It's like a
DVI.
box.
The DVI, the
Thank
disk
you.
video interface.
I have somebody locally, and this is just a quick question, that doesn't have a Model 100, whatever, to go with it, but he's wants for the box, he's asking $500. Is that like way off base or what?
That's off base.
Yeah.
That's what
He'd probably get that. He'd probably get that on eBay if he had patience and was wanted to offer free shipping. I mean, if it was in the box unused with all the original manuals and the cable that goes between the computer, he'd probably get that for it. But if it's just a box that's done 1 million miles and has
I mean, they are not chump change. They'll go for 200 or 250, depending on how many drives are in it, and whether it has the cables. But 500, that's off the chart.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It would definitely have to be shown working and in mint condition, like Mav said, with all of the originals to even consider that.
Get that sort of money. Another thing to remember, Josh can actually confirm this for me, but it looks like they have a Tech FB501 drive in them, like the Model 4D, but a single-sided version. They have problems with the caps on them leaking and ruining the logic board. You might want to confirm that for me or deny it at some point.
I don't know. I do not have a DVI. I've never worked on one. The only one I've ever touched is Randy Kindig's at Tandy Assembly at our last demo.
Yeah. Well, there's 2 capacitors on the 4D disk drive logic board that leaks out at a corrosive substance. And the unfortunate thing about those drives is that the drives continue to work properly until the corrosive substance from the capacitors has done so much damage that it's just not possible to repair them. You can't just unsolder the capacitor. It's taken out all the traces around it. So
that stuff's really bad. It's acidic. There's boric acid is one of the components in a lot of that electrolyte. So you have to neutralize it with a base and do all that other sort of stuff. As I mentioned in my talk last year, if you have battery leakage, that's actually a base itself, and so you want to neutralize that with an acid.
Yeah. And so and Tandy used the same drive mechanism on the Coco FD501, which is suffering the same problem because it uses the same logic board. It's just got half the number of heads, and so Coco people are finding the FD501 drives operate fine for 20 years and then just stop, and it's these same 2 cheapo capacitors.
All right, go ahead.
Across on eBay UK.
Yeah, one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got the 2 male connectors and goes into the back of the Model 1. No, look, it's only £23. What's that, about $30?
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was quite.
They were sold by Alpha Products, I think. Was that sound right, Eric?
Yes, I know Alpha Products did sell some of those.
Some of those, yeah. Handy for adding 2 devices on the one bus if the devices will work and play together.
Yeah, well, the one's for the Aculab, and then I can also attach a printer. If I could only get the Aculab to work.
Okay. You got one of those printer interface ooga joogas. Okay, yeah.
Barry speaking Australian again.
Don't you get technical on us.
Yeah, you know, nobody makes those edge connectors anymore, which is unfortunate.
The males, yeah.
Yeah.
I think they actually sold a 4-way, right? They sold the 4-way cable actually. Which
Yeah, they made.
And they
2,
also
3s,
made
and
it 50 pin for the Model 3 and 4.
Yeah.
Is
I
it
got
a
a
different?
feeling that they just made them up as the orders came in. They just, if you ordered one that needed 3 connectors, then they just crimped them up and posted them
Yeah, but
out.
they don't even sell the connectors so you can make up, a cable of your own now.
Is it significantly different thickness than a PC board?
No, I've seen people that made a little PC board to connect the female connectors together, but it's not as elegant.
Yeah.
And
I
those
was going to
good
ask
quality
the group.
those good quality female connectors are not cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, I've got a question for the group. Does everyone remember the Gold Plug 80?
Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
So I've got to figure out what to do with mine. It's I don't know if you can see
They're damaged.
Yeah. But it's soldered on, so it's gonna be I've got a desoldering tool, but it's gonna be a bit of a project.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a shame. I was thinking of making kits of a similar device from Sullins available as a 5 connector or 6 6 connector set for the Model 1. The trouble is the Sullins connectors are rather expensive to get produced, so it's going to be a pretty expensive kit. Do people think it would be something worthwhile producing or not? Does everyone know what a Gold Plug 80 is?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was meant to the oxidation problem that the I guess the interface had. And I remember when I bought them, they were a hot item. They were very, very, they were available, but they were very hot. Everybody wanted them.
Yeah, and systems that I've got that have them on them are still very reliable. They solve the oxidization problem altogether. The thing is that in the 80s, when people were buying the kits, they were using their Model 1s for, sometimes 8 or 10 hours a day for 5 or 6 days a week. So there was much more of an opportunity for the connectors on them to oxidize, whereas now our computers are not used quite so much. People don't really figure in that they should try and clean the oxide off the connectors every so often. If it becomes unreliable, basically if you unplug it, the cable a couple of times, it'll make it work again for another few months. So some time ago, I forget who it was, but someone in the United States did a group buy of the solder-on style connectors. They're similar to the Gold Plug 80, and I've sort of looked into that again. They'll be expensive, but if there's demand for it, I'd go for it. Because when you order these Sullins connectors, they have a minimum order of 10, so it's I'd have to order at least sort of 5 or 10 computers worth of of connectors to make it wide.
Yeah, I have to buy 10 of them to get any kind of badge, so that can be expensive.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that would, I'm pretty sure that would sell, Mav.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Also, if you could source out more of the flex cables that go between the daughter cards and the motherboard, and the Model 3s and the Model 4 non-gate arrays. That's a hard item to find. I found one on DigiKey, but it's you have to have the right kind of connectors for it to work, and you got to be real careful putting it in. But those cables are really hard to find. I know you have a good source of them, but maybe something like that could be done.
And the price of everything of that sort of thing is going up at the moment with the increased international shipping costs. The electronic supply companies that get stuff from other countries, while the component cost probably hasn't changed, the cost for them to arrive there has gone up. So they pass that on to the buyers.
I actually have a new sealed set of the Gold 80 connectors from back in the day.
I was going to say the exact same thing. I've got
Yeah.
I've got some here. So unfortunately,
$20.
Yeah. I say there's 5.
25.
25, 25, 25. Do I hear 30, 30, 30?
Yeah. Perhaps. Who was it that was showing the one with the busted connector?
That was me.
Craig.
Craig, yeah.
Yeah.
This was my first Coco, TRS-80.
Oh no.
So
that's it. Throw them out.
Well, if you can use a desoldering tool to get the old one off without lifting the traces that are already there, then we can probably work out something to get you a replacement one that you can then solder back on and be back in business. I don't think you're ever going to get the original traces shiny and thin enough to put a cable on without damaging it, but you can definitely solder on a replacement gold plug 80 to get yourself back up and running.
I gotta think that's going to be hard. That's going to be hard to desolder when you think about it. If that solder seeped in there under that connector.
Yeah.
You're going to spend some time with a vacuum
you got a
gun.
soldering rework station and something to lift the thing as you run the solder rework sucker underneath it. You can probably get it away if you have the technique down pat.
Yeah,
maybe,
it'll be a
maybe
pain.
practice it on something else, man.
Yeah, I've desoldered before. It'll be a pain, but
just cut
it'll
the
come off.
Put a new edge connector on.
Well, no, yeah, cut off physically as much of it as you possibly can. It makes it a lot easier to get the heat where you need it.
Maybe a Dremel tool.
Yeah.
Good luck, Greg.
Thanks.
Keep us informed.
Send pictures.
I've been doing some software stuff, mostly with George's tools. The Raycaster I showed at Tandy Assembly, I'm still reworking. It was depressing during George's talks to go through every single slide and realize I had made all of the mistakes he was talking about in terms of performance. So been making some progress, got something that's splitting graphics at about 15 frames a second on a Model 1 and Model 3, so that's great. And trying to do some videos to show people how to do this software stuff. I've been kind of warming up with that. I figured, who can I get to watch these as I get used to this? So I've done a couple of Coco videos. So they seem to watch anything. So I'll get the Z81.
Tim, I have to say, your article in TRS 8-Bit was really, really well done. Thank you for that.
Yes, thanks. George was my technical reviewer, so he helped.
It really helped me understand, the problem and your solution in a way easy to understand for someone like me.
Yeah. It's amazing how simple the change is to the computer. Would have made a lot of difference.
All right, anyone else? Doesn't sound like it. All right. Well, maybe we'll do this again in 3 months.
Yeah.
Oh, with the lockdown, maybe sooner.
That'll be
That'd be awesome.
Yeah,
that'll be the
anytime.
pre-cancelled Tandy Assembly trash talk.
Yeah,
I
we're
hate to
gonna
say
have to do
that it
something.
came to that because to be honest, working for myself, I have very little to do with other people. It's the one thing I look forward to each year, that is actually going over to the US and taking time out to do that sort of thing. So this whole thing is really crushed my spirits a bit, and I was actually getting to the point where I was thinking of coming out twice a year, once to Cocoa Fest and once to Tandy. So that would be a bit of fun, but looks like we're not going to be doing that for a few years. But maybe we'll have some good news, and the immunologists will have a vaccine in the next month and a half.
Well, Ian, I think you should come to the U.S. quite often and stop by. I've got a lot of work for you.
I had a few drives to repair.
Just make sure
Got a
you're
room full of disk drives.
I'm always in LA on my trip to Ohio, but I'm only there for an hour, so it's
That's not enough.
Ira, next time you need to meet him at the airport and just to say hi.
Shanghai.
Yeah, how am I going to bring
And
all that
bring your
stuff?
ankle chains.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
All right.
Until next time.
So he can
Everybody
bring him
stay
over.
safe.
Thanks, everyone.
Great. It was great to see everybody.
Yeah.
Stay
Have a good
safe.
one.
Thanks, Pete.
Bye.